Is Congress moving your required minimum distribution age from 72 to 75? If so, this could be big news for retirees. Well, in this video today, we're going to talk about the latest retirement bill that was just passed in the House of Representatives and what it means for your retirement. Let's get into it. First off, for those that don't know, a required minimum distribution, otherwise known as an RMD, is an IRS mandate that forces you to take money from your tax-deferred accounts whether you want to or not. You have to take an RMD on an annual basis after you reach a specific age. In the retirement bill that just passed the House of Representatives, there are three major things that retirees should be aware of. Two of those are related to required minimum distributions. And so the first one that we're going to cover is the changing of the age at which you must begin your RMD. We just recently had a big RMD age change in 2020 with the passing of the Secure Act. So previously the starting RMD age was 70 and a half, and in 2020 with the passing of the Secure Act, this was updated to age 72. Well, the latest bill that is moving through Congress right now is dubbed the Secure Act 2.0, and it just passed the House of Representatives by a vote of 414 to 5. Now, the big headline item and the first thing we're going to talk about within this bill is the changing of the RMD age from 72 and updating it to 75. But it's very important to understand that not everybody's RMD age would update to 75. For instance, those that have already begun required minimum distributions at, let's say, 72 or 70 and a half, there will be no changes. You will still take your normal required minimum distribution on an annual basis moving forward. And even if you are a retiree that hasn't yet begun your required minimum distributions, this doesn't mean that your RMD age now immediately updates to age 75. There are essentially three different groups of retirees. So the first group is for those individuals that are turning age 72 after December 31st, 2022, and are reaching age 73 before January 1st of 2030. So simply put, if you were born between 1951 and 1956, your RMD age would update to 73. So you would have 1 year delay there. The second group is for those retirees that were born 1957 to 1958. You will see your RMD age update to 74. And then for those born in 1959 or thereafter, that group of retirees will see their RMD age update to 75. But as I said earlier, this RMD age change isn't the only change coming to RMDs. And this next change within the Secure Act 2.0 bill is one that I'm happy to see. And that's the adjustment for the penalty for mistaking your RMD. So here's how this penalty has worked in the past. Let's say that someone is turning 72 and they're having to begin their first RMD. Their RMD, let's say, is set to be $15,000. Now, because of some confusion around when to take RMDs and how much to take, they simply missed their first required minimum distribution. Well, the IRS mandates that if you miscalculate and mistake your required minimum distribution, you will have a 50% penalty in the amount that you mistook. Well, they would now owe an IRS tax penalty of $7,500. And again, in my opinion, this is one of the worst penalties within the IRS code. Well, luckily, the Secure Act 2.0 takes this IRS penalty from 50% down to 25%. Now, I still think that's a pretty large penalty, but all things considered, it is a good step in the right direction. Now, the third big retirement change in this Secure Act 2.0 bill is another one that I think is a long time coming, and that's indexing certain numbers, certain retirement numbers for inflation. So we know there are certain things within the IRS tax code that annually adjust for inflation. Tax brackets is a big one. So each and every year we see that tax brackets adjust to some kind of cost of living adjustment to try to keep up with inflation. Well, for puzzling reasons, there are also certain things within the IRS tax code that don't adjust to inflation. Right now, IRA owners have a catch-up contribution if you're over the age of 50 that you can contribute an extra $1,000 to your traditional IRA accounts, to your Roth IRA accounts, and such. Now, in the past, this hasn't been indexed for inflation. But starting in 2023, if this bill passes, we will see an index inflation adjustment for these catch-up contributions. Interestingly enough, the Secure Act 2.0 bill also includes another catch-up zone for those that are ages 62, 63, or 64 and are currently contributing to their company plans. For instance, right now a 401k participant, if they're over the age of 50, has a catch-up contribution of $6,500 in 2022. Well, the Secure Act would create another zone, again, for those ages 62, 63, and 64, that would add to this catch-up contribution and make it a $10,000 catch-up contribution. And so effectively, for those three specific ages, we would see an almost catch-up contribution that offers a little bit more that they can then contribute to those given company plans. Another powerful inflation adjustment that would be part of this bill would be an inflation adjustment for qualified charitable distributions, so otherwise known as a QCD. Now, right now, QCDs are capped at $100,000 per person, which really isn't necessarily an issue for most families that are wanting to give a little bit to charity. But for those that are wanting to give a little bit more to charity, we are going to see that $100,000 QCD limit adjust to inflation again, starting in 2023 if this bill passes. Now, for many of you watching this video, the immediate question that is going to arise with all of these changes is how does this RMD age change affect my forward-looking tax plan as well as my Roth conversion strategy? And it will affect those given plans, but probably not in the way that you think. If this bill becomes law, rest assured we will cover this from every angle and we will cover how this updates those given tax plans. And with all of this talk around changes to RMDs, you want to make sure you're very aware of when you need to take your required minimum distribution and how much you need to take. As we discussed earlier in this video, the penalty for not taking the right amount can be quite expensive. For instance, are you aware that they adjusted the RMD tables for 2022 and every year beyond that? In fact, if you took an RMD last year, your RMD this year will likely be quite a bit different. Now, we recently just recorded a video talking about this exact topic. You can click on that video right here. And unfortunately, this has been a very under-discussed topic, but as we talked about earlier, very important to understand how it changes your RMD this year. And so click on this video if you want to learn more. Always remember, you don't need more money, you need a better plan. Thanks for watching.